He's right over there. So, Cory Booker, come on down. Oh, here we go. Third time's a charm. Everybody, Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey.
Hello, everybody. It is good to be back in Story County. And it's good to be back in Iowa. You all know this. I may be a Jersey boy, but my grandmother was born and raised in Des Moines. But my family originally, her grandmother came from Buxton, Iowa. And this was an amazing town before its time, where black folks and white folks, European immigrants and descendants of slaves, lived in an integrated town, came together, stood together, went down in the coal mines together to carve out their American dream together. It's this ideal of our nation that Iowa has actually already led the country in. You were fighting against slavery with the Underground Railroad coming through here. You were fighting for women's rights, civil rights, heck, LGBTQ rights, hello Pride. And these are the values of why I am running for president. Look, I am sorry. We need to beat Donald Trump, and we can do that. But folks who say that's the only thing I want from a candidate, I'm like, please have bigger dreams and ambitions than that. Beating Donald Trump is the floor, it is not the ceiling. Beating Donald Trump gets us out of the valley, but I want to get us to the mountaintop. Getting to the mountaintop means we fight against the tribalism that's tearing apart our country, where we see each other as enemies. Instead of trying to find common ground and change our common pain into common purpose, we're ripping each other apart. We have so much more that we agree about than disagree. The lines that divide us are nowhere near as strong as the ties that bind us.
Right.
And so I have some people that sometimes laugh at me, because I was walking into one big town hall here. We were excited. The numbers were bigger than we expected. But a big guy comes up and sees me, former All-American football player, former tight end for Stanford University. The older I get, the better I was. and this big dude puts his arm around me, thinks he's having a bro moment, and goes, "Cory Booker, dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face." And I look at him, I go, "Dude, that's a felony." I look at him and go, "Man, let me tell you why. The only way to beat this guy is not by fighting him on his turf and his terms. It's not by joining him in the gutter. It's about calling our country to higher moral ground. It's about appealing to the moral imagination of a nation. Because the gardens of our democracy have never been free of the weeds of bigotry and hate. What has defined every generation is not their existence, but is our ability to join together and pull up those weeds and affirm who we are. The story of America is every generation fighting to put more indivisible in this one nation under God."
Exactly.
And so let me tell you, I'm not running because of what I'm against. I'm running because of what I'm for and who I'm for.
Yes.
I am for a nation where everyone has access to health care. I am for a nation where every senior can retire with security. I am for a nation that will end the attacks on public education and public school teachers, where we pay teachers for their value and elevate our public schools. I am for a nation that stands up and leads the planet Earth when our planet is in peril, where we say, "Follow us, human species. We're going to lead out of the crisis of climate change." I am for a country that does not allow women to be attacked who are seeking contraceptive care and health care. And that if you want to empower families and our future, you empower women. And so I want to tell you, this election is not a referendum on one man in one office.
No, it's not.
It's a referendum on who we are and who we must be to each other. Patriotism is love of country. And you cannot love your country unless you love your fellow countrymen and women. It doesn't mean that we always agree with one another.
Right.
But it means that, hey, if your kids don't have great public schools, I know my kids are less off. If your family doesn't have health care or jobs that pay living wage, then it is an assault on the dignity of every Let me end by telling you this. It's 50 years ago this month that my mom and my dad, my mom, the daughter of an Iowan, were going to move into a town in New Jersey from the South. And every time they looked at a home, they were told the house was sold. Just because of the color of their skin. These were good neighborhoods with great schools, but they found a group of people that met like this on the weekends, mostly white folks, who said, out of patriotism, out of love, we're not going to let you suffer like this. They set up a sting operation, so every time my parents looked at a home, they were told it was sold, the white couple would come right after them. In the house I grew up in, my parents were told it was sold, the white couple found out it was still for sale, they put a bid on the house, the bid was accepted. Papers were drawn up, and on the day of the closing, the white couple didn't show up. My dad did, and a volunteer lawyer. But hold on. The story should be over then, but when my dad walked in with the lawyer, the real estate agent was so upset that he didn't accept it. He stands up and punches my dad's lawyer in the face and sigs a dog on my dad. And let me tell you, as I was growing up in that neighborhood, that beautiful, supportive town, every time my dad would tell this story, the dog would get bigger. He's like, boy, I had to fight a pack of wolves to get you in this house. My parents raised me saying that every American owes a debt to people who came together and stood together. They came together across the lines that divide us and affirmed the ties that bind us. He told me, boy, you can't pay it back, but you got to pay it forward. That's why I live in the inner city of Newark, New Jersey, the only person in the Senate or this presidential campaign that lives in a low-income community. I live there because I never mistake wealth with worth. I see the beauty and the dignity and the promise of our country. When I went to the Senate, I decided to look for the people who helped me. Look for the people that helped me. I never thanked those folks back in 1969 who helped me. And when I found the man that led that campaign, he was the organizer of lawyers, I asked him why would he help black families move into his neighborhood, and this is what he told me. He goes, I remember the moment I made the decision. It was March 7th, 1965. I was home watching TV. The movie was Judgment at Nuremberg. And they broke away from that movie on that day. And they showed a bridge in Alabama. And he said he watched these marchers trying to march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and they were stopped by Alabama state troopers who sent tear gas in and beat them viciously. They call it Bloody Sunday. And he said he knew he couldn't just sit back on his couch and watch a moral moment in America, so he got up off of that couch and he went to work. He knew he couldn't afford to go to Alabama. He couldn't afford a plane ticket, but he said, I'm going to do the best I can for my nation with what I have where I am. And he said years passed, he was working and organizing, and he finally got a case file with two names on it, Cory and Carolyn Booker. I am here as a United States Senator. I am here as a presidential candidate because of that American value. That in times of moral crisis, we stand for each other. We work for each other. We know, like the old African saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. I am running for president because we need a revival of civic grace. We need to call in our politics for a new era of decency. We need to remind people that patriotism is about love. I'm running for president because I believe in us. When we stand together, when we work together, the demagogues and the hate mongers will fall. But most importantly, this nation will rise. Thank you, everybody. All right. We will rise, everybody. We will get out of the valley. We will rise. Together, we will rise. All right, so I don't know what my time is, but I might have a few more minutes for some questions. And Iowans have been really good. Gene, what do you got?
3 words, collective bargaining rights.
Yes. Amen. 3 words. The holy trinity of economic justice. When we have unions, we have strength. And this state's attack on workers' rights to organize is outrageous. We've seen unions decline, and median incomes have declined as well in this country. If I'm your president, I'm going to fight to make sure workers have a right to organize. I'm going to fight to help workers organize in industries where they're not, like the fast food industry, where companies outsource their costs on us. I wrote about in my book, United, about a woman who worked in an IHOP. Her name is Natasha Laurel. She worked a full-time job, caught extra shifts, but still needed food stamps for her kids, still needed housing subsidies to keep a roof over her head. How can we have come so far in America from my father's era, when the minimum wage job kept you above the poverty line, to now you can have more than twice the minimum wage in New Jersey and still not be able to meet the basic needs of your family? That should end. We're going to return to the work with dignity. If I am your president, we're going to elevate the wages of Americans. Yes, please. And then we got to go to the Yankee hat. I'm sorry. I'm out here in Iowa and I'm seeing somebody with a Yankee hat. Go ahead. 3 words.
Supreme Court justices.
Oh.
That's a lot in 3 words.
That's a mouthful in and of itself. I'm on the Judiciary Committee. And I'm watching these judges, many of them on the right wing, many of them don't have the qualifications. I've seen people getting judgeships that have never even stood before a judge themselves and argued a case, wrote a brief. This is outrageous what's happening. The courts are being packed. And so let me tell you right now, this is why we can't take, another reason why we can't take 4 more years of Donald Trump. We need to seize back control of the judiciary. Put judges that are not going to see what we've seen so far, which is an assault on workers' rights, assaults on women's rights, Citizens United, voting rights being rolled back, all the things that our ancestors in this state and others fought for and marched for, the individual freedoms that make us America, are under assault as corporate power is rising in our country. Citizens United literally says corporations are now people. Come on. And so as your president, I'm going to nominate judges that are going to bring back sanity to our court systems. I'm going to nominate judges that are going to stand up for workers' rights. They're going to be people that understand that Citizens United was an insult to our Constitution and our freedoms. And dear God, we are going to have judges that believe like I do, that the sanctity of your body, the ability to make your own medical decisions, belongs with you and not politicians. 60 seconds, last question. I didn't see the Jersey shirt.
2 words, the environment.
This is amazing that you guys are getting your questions so short. We are in a crisis in our planet. The next president can't make climate change an issue. They have to make it the center of all policy. Everything we do, Department of Transportation, it's got to be about the environment. Our ag laws and the ag bill have to incentivize farmers to cover crops. Our foreign policy, rejoining the Paris Climate Accords and making sure that our aid to other countries and our trade deals, everything puts climate change at the center. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to end with this. My father's generation, my mother's generation, they fought great battles that now we're seeing rolled back. When King was killed, right there where he was shot at the Lorraine Motel, there are words that were written from Scripture. That the words of Joseph's brothers, who called these words out and then grabbed Joseph with his coat of many colors and threw him in a ditch to die, threw him in a pit to die, but he didn't die. He rose up out of that pit and led a nation through crisis. And so they put these words right there where King was slain as a challenge to new future generations of Americans about what's at stake. And this is the challenge I leave everybody with. The words of Joseph's brothers, written where King was slain, is this. It says, "Behold, here cometh the dreamer. Let us slay him and see what becomes of the dream." We in our generation have to answer that question now. What will become of the dream of America? What will become of the dream that our ancestors died for in beaches in Normandy and in places like Mississippi where Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner died together? What will become of our dream? Well, it can't be on our watch where the dream becomes diluted, where it becomes diminished, where it becomes divided against itself. No, it is time for a new American generation of dreamers to stand up and say in a collective chorus of conviction that I too dream America. I dream America anew, where everyone has health care, where everyone has great public schools, where everyone can work jobs that pay living wages. I dream America, bold dreams and daring dreams, defiant dreams, full of love. And if we dream like that in our generation, we won't remain into that pit we're in now. If we dream like that and back those dreams up with work, with organizing, with love, we won't remain in that pit. America, we will rise. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I love you, Iowa. Love you. Thank you.